Okay, so we are already live. Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias por asistir de nuevo a el primer curso latinoamericano de metodología de la investigación. Hoy tenemos el honor de dar la bienvenida a uno de nuestros patrocinadores, que es Kaplan. Y hoy vamos a sortear una rifa de un QBank. Step 1. Entonces, lo que tienen que hacer es que vamos a mandar un Google Forms al chat de YouTube. Tienen 15 minutos para llenarlo. Entonces, en estos 15 minutos vamos a ver qué persona puede ganarse este QBank. Hoy, pues, tenemos el honor de tener de invitado al doctor Tenzin Yamjan, que es director global de Kaplan y también es un gran experto sobre USMLE y el proceso de residencia en medicina. Y también nos acompaña Diana Martínez, que es asesora de estudios internacionales. Bueno, muchas gracias.
Hola Laura,
Hola.
Muchas gracias por la invitación, por permitirnos el espacio. Yo soy Diana Martínez, trabajo con estudios internacionales y nosotros somos una agencia especializada en asesoría educativa internacional. Es decir, asistimos a estudiantes, padres de familias que desean conocer sobre programas de estudio en el extranjero. Naturalmente, uno de estos nuestros programas pues está dirigido para estudiantes de medicina o médicos graduados, ¿verdad? Ya que pues uno de parte de la carrera es pensar en dónde voy a hacer una especialidad médica, ¿verdad? Entonces, desde 2006, nosotros hicimos pues un convenio con el programa Kaplan Medical, el cual es un programa de preparación para los exámenes del USMLE en Estados Unidos, los cuales son exámenes que son requisitos para entrar a un programa de residencia allá. Nuestro trabajo básicamente consiste en asistir a los interesados en estos programas con el tema de los requisitos de inscripción, los programas en sí que contienen, qué fechas de inicio tienen, los costos, cómo inscribirlos, y con los programas que son de naturaleza presencial, pues también les asistimos con la preparación para su entrevista, para la obtención de la visa de estudios. Todos nuestros servicios son completamente gratuitos, ¿verdad? Nosotros no cobramos nada al estudiante por compartir la información de los programas que representamos, de las escuelas que representamos. Y pues con la mayoría de las escuelas tenemos pues básicamente más de 10 años de trabajar. Entonces, es un gusto para nosotros pues compartir este espacio, que nos conozcan y pues que nos tengan a la orden para cualquier consulta posteriormente pues acerca de este tema, ¿verdad? Estados Unidos es uno de los países pues donde más interés o hay mucho interés para ir a hacer una residencia médica, pero tenemos que ir conociendo el proceso en sí, los requisitos, cuánto tiempo toma hacer todo este proceso, pues sí es información muy, muy importante que tienen que conocer incluso pues antes de graduarse. Esta tarde pues nos acompaña el doctor Tenzin Yam. Él es Global Director de Kaplan Medical, ha sido parte del equipo de Kaplan durante muchos años. Y ahora se las voy a presentar en inglés y posteriormente pues podemos continuar con su presentación. Recuerden participar llenen el formulario para participar en la rifa del QBank. También a los asistentes pues les hemos como beneficio pues tenemos un obsequio para ustedes que es un libro electrónico para que empiecen a ver de qué se trata el material de estudio para los exámenes del USMLE. Y bueno, ahora voy a practicar mi inglés. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Diana Martinez. I work with Estudios Internacionales, and we are agent of Kaplan Medical. Kaplan is one of the programs that we represent, and we help students to know about their programs. In this afternoon, we have with us Dr. Tenzin. He is a global director of and faculty for Kaplan Medical. He's also an international medical graduate and has have helped many of thousands of international students to know about the process of getting their residency in the US. And today he's going to share with us very important information about this process that you need to know. Hi, Dr. Tensi.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you, Laura, for the kind introduction. So first of all, happy Friday! Because tomorrow's weekend. I know that you guys, we were earlier before we came on live, we were just talking between Diana, me, and Laura about how hard our days were in this Monday to Thursday. And then once it hits Friday, it's like Saturday, Sunday is a fun day. And I know being a student, it's kind of even worse, right? Because we have to study. But now we have 2 days in front of us to have fun and plan things. All right, so diving straight in, I'm going to share my screen. You can see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. So, first of all, thank you very much for the organizers for putting this together, in which is really going to be helpful for your prospective students. I know that some of you guys who are attending this seminar webinar is half-hearted thinking, was like, should I do it or should I not do it? You know, but if I do it, what do I need to know? So this is basically about the second half of the journey. Today's topic that we're going to talk about is how to increase your chances of getting residency match. And then we'll talk about the top 6 helpful tips, right? My name is Dr. Tenzin. Just like Diana said, I'm the Global Director / faculty for Kaplan Medical. I've been working in Kaplan Medical for almost about 15 plus years. I had the opportunity of visiting your beautiful countries in Central America and the part of the world as well. I've been working with international medical graduates from day one. And me being one myself, I know exactly where it hurts. I know when I was first in your place, I had a lot of question marks. It's like, what is this? How is this? When is this? And why is this? So today, this is just a small chunk of it. The meaning, we break, because if we talk about from A to Z, then it's going to take the whole day. So when we have the webinars, we break it into pieces. So today's piece is, how do you increase your chances of matching into United States residency, and then the tips that we can offer you, right? So that being said, without further ado, what we'll cover today is going to be application process and timeline for USMLE. And then we'll also talk about how the US, kind of healthcare needs IMGs and average USMLE scores by specialty. And we'll also talk main topic about 6 tips to increase your chances in the match, right? And last, we talk about why Kaplan. Kaplan, obviously Diana talked about it, so I'm not going to talk about it again. So let's go straight into the topic, planning your match calendar. I'm presuming that you guys have already taken the step 1, step 2 CK, OET, and the step 3. Now, this is after those exams are done, because everybody knows who is interested in USMLE about the steps. It's like, I need to take un, dos, tres, right? And then un, dos, tres is one of the Spanish words that I did not even know I knew way back in my country, because when Ricky Martin sing the song, and it was like a blockbuster, I was just singing the song, un, dos, tres, but did not realizing I learned Spanish in 1, 2, 3. But that is exactly what it is. Right, so important match dates to remember. You can take these exams in any day of the year, minus the government holidays, but there's only one time for sending your applications. So June is when the ERAS application tokens get released that you can buy, right? And then when July hits, then you can put in all the documents that you need in terms of the scores, letters of recommendations, personal statements, etc., transcripts in your ERAS account. So that's the process. And then on September 15th, you press the enter button, and then it flies off to all the programs that you want to apply. Once you send your applications, depending upon how attractive your applications are, you will start having interview calls from October till January. And then finally, in the month of February, you sit back, let's say you had 10 interviews. You had in New York, you had in Chicago, you had in Florida, you had in California, you had in Texas. Then you want to see like, okay, fine, which rank order listing do I want? New York, I want to put it in number 1, Texas number 2, California number 3. And the same thing is also done by the program themselves. So that's called the rank order listing. And then finally, in mid-March, that was just about 1.5, 2 weeks ago, you get the beautiful email by saying, congratulations, you matched into the residency. And that's where thousands of Kaplan students, and just at 2 o'clock today, New York time, we celebrated a match party where a lot of our Kaplan students and panelists came on board and talked about their successes and their problems that they faced and how they braved it, etc., etc. So finally, in the month of July, your residency will begin. So take a picture of this because this is an important aspect of it based upon each and every individual's journey towards USMLE and match. Navigating application and matching process. So you need to understand these 3 people, ECFMG, ERAS, and NRMP. ECFMG is basically the main guardian because let us say Jose from Guatemala says that he is a doctor from Guatemala in XYZ University. He started from this year and graduated from this year. The AAMC, that's American Medical Council, doesn't believe and trust you. It's like, you could be falsified. You can be faking it. So ECFMG's job is get all the information from you, and then they will relay it over to your university, and the university is going to say like, yes, whatever Jose said is totally correct. There's not even a single lie to it. And then only the ECFMG is going to say, all right, Jose, you're cleared to participate in the exam. And that's the first job of ECFMG. And after that, after you finish the step 1, step 2 CK, and the OET for now, then you will be certified with something called the ECFMG certification. Next up is the ERAS, that is Electronic Residency Application Services. Let us say fast forward, you've finished the step 1, step 2, step 3, everything. Then you start sending your application. So ERAS is an electronic portal where you put in all the scores, personal statements, CV, experience, certifications, research publications, photograph, LORs, and then designate each and every application to each and every programs that you want to apply throughout the states in the United States. Okay, that's that ERAS. Last not the least is the NRMP, which is National Resident Matching Program. So now you got great scores, you send applications, you got interviews, you did the rank order listing, and then you did the interviews. Now, NRMP at the end is going to be when I talk to you about rank order listing, you're going to rank the programs. The programs are also going to rank you. So at the end of the day, NRMP is going to just kind of try to match. And this is not beyond our control. This is just purely computerized program. So we don't have much control over it. So I'm not going to talk much about that as well. The task you must complete for applying for a match is obviously all the scores that you need for USMLE, decide what specialty to apply, research where you will apply, because there are certain states which is very cold versus very hot, versus very high chances or very low chances. We'll talk about that. And then obviously complete your USCE, that is US clinical experiences. I know most of the IMGs, that is international medical graduates from Central America and other parts of the world, they're fully invested with clinical experiences. But when it comes to US residency match, they normally prefer US letters of recommendations, which means after you finish your test, then you should preferably have letters of recommendations by doctors in the United States, which means you have to do clinical rotations in the United States. Application of ERAS, and then obviously the visa status, and then preparation for interviews, and then rank order listing. So these are the top things that you must complete for you to be a competitive candidate to get into residency. Now, how successful are IMGs in the residency match? So this is the biggest fear that some of you guys might be having. I was like, I want to do it, but my friend told me that it's super next to impossible. Well, this is the example that we're having the question here. So let's go back and dive deep into the data, because I can say a lot of things, people can say a lot of things, but numbers don't lie at the end, right? You should understand approximately about 30% of the US physician workforce is comprised of international medical graduates like you and me, nearly about 30%. So that becomes a bulk of what? 1/3 of the whole population of physicians in the United States taking care of United States citizens are us. That's a good news, right? Secondly, even better, AAMC predicts a shortage of about 125,000 primary and surgeons during the next 10 years. That's also good news. If there's a shortage, then where are they going to bring the doctors from? Obviously, they might try to build up more hospitals and medical colleges in the United States, but that still will not be sufficient to fill the gap. So obviously, the remaining gap will be filled in from IMGs. On the other side, let's look at this. The number of matched IMGs in over the 10 years period, starting from 2010, 2011, has gone up consistently. And this is 4,222 in the last match. Now let's break it down into 2020 match, because we don't have much detailed information of this 2021 match just happened this March. 2 weeks ago. When we talk about it, 61% of the IMGs over the last 10 years has matched, which means when you look at the historical data, it started from 39 all the way to 61 in 10 years period. There was not even a single year that I can say that kind of dipped down drastically. It was consistently more and more and more. And just to make the matters even better, then this year's match, this is the only data that I can share you, that there was 134 more or increased IMGs, that is non-US IMGs, who matched in this particular match, right? And then to add an icing on the cake, just in the month of February, just about last month, the US legislation was passed that they are going to add 1,000 more residency spots. So which means it's all great news for IMGs. First of all, their number of seats increased. The number of IMGs, they've gone up consistently over 10 years. And I'm pretty sure in 2022, 2023, it's even going to hit the roof. So these are all good, positive attitudes that one has to sink in while you are thinking about residency processes in the United States. I know when I visit different countries, it's like, what are my chances of getting into a residency match? I can say anything, but you might think that I'm trying to convince you. But I'm not trying to convince you, because I don't have to. Being a doctor, being an advisor, being a mentor, being a colleague, being another doctor, then I would say, these are the facts. I don't have to lie. You can just go up and type in nrmp.org. You would have all the information that I'm having it. I'm not concocting it or making it up. Next question is, before you think about how will I match or what are my chances of matching, the second question that you need to ask is, how will I get residency interviews? Because without getting interviews, you don't even have a chance of getting matched. So let's dig into that detail. Now, I would like to take you back. Let us presume that you have taken the step 1, 2, and 3. Everything is done. And then now it's an application time. Now you send an application. Let us, for example, then I'm the program director for internal medicine in Hospital X in so-and-so state in the United States, in New York, because I'm in New York. So I have only about 10 spots in the match. It's 7, but I'm rounding it off. Let's make it easy. How many applications do I normally receive on an average? 1,000. I have 10 spots I have 1,000 applicants. Do you think that I'm going to, kind of call everybody for that? No, I don't have all the time to waste. So therefore, I need to have a screening process. We should talk about that. So out of those 1,000 people, I'm going to send an invitation to only about 100 people, right? And out of those 100 people, then totally, at the end of the day, the 100 people will be interviewed, and then the number of applicants ranked will be 82. So this is how the game plays. I receive a lot of applications, but I'm not going to call all of them. So now, without even thinking about the remaining part of the bars, it's like, from 1,000, 900 gets kicked out. Why and how? This is how. You only have about 50-50 chance of getting an interview. 50% yes, you will get an interview, and 50% no, you will not get an interview. Now, that is totally dependent upon you, how you want to think it. You can think like, oh my God, so 50% I'm not going to get it. Or you can say like, I want to be in that 50% who calls me for interview. Now, how does it matter? The selection process is what we call as the filtration or the screening process. What are the program director's office looking at when they screen the 900 people out and only 100 people in calling for interviews? Top cut is going to be the USMLE scores. Scores, scores, scores. The higher the scores, that gets more doors open for you. Next cut is going to be the application packages. And when we talk about application packages, it sounds just one word. What does it entail? It entails US clinical experiences, strong letters of recommendations, big and best personal statement that you drafted, research and publications, and your prior achievements. All these things comes under application package. Let us say, for example, you got great scores. But if you don't have the application package strong and attractive, then you might lose the chance, right? And the third cut is going to be through the interviews. You have seen, people around in your neighborhood and in your school that they are great rocket scientists, that they know all the answers in school, but they are not people person. They're not social skills. When they're talking, it's like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And it's like, right? So obviously you can get an interview based upon the documentations you send. But year in year, I've also seen people who get the interview but do not match. And the main problem with them is not about documentations and papers. It's just about people skills, right? And obviously the last cut is going to be the rank order listings. Now, when we talked about the first criteria, unanimously all across the board in all the programs, the program director's office is going to look at these numbers, scores, scores, scores. And then obviously, this is the research that is being conducted. And all the program directors said, like, the scores for USMLE Step 1, Step 2 CK is importante. When you look at this, the matching chances increases the more higher the score you have. If you just manage to pass, you have 20% chances. But if you cross the boundary of 250, then you have 90% chances of getting into match. So it's self-explanatory. Now, when you look at this, you will see Step 1 and Step 2 matched candidates, unmatched candidates. I'm not going to go through each and every specialty, but the average, when you look at it, is going to be 234 matched, 221 did not match in Step 1, 240 matched, 228 did not match in Step 2 CK, right? But again, this is really important, especially if you're applying for super competitive specialties like dermatology, radiology, neurosurgery, plastic surgeries. Then obviously this normal average score will not even come to play. You need to score higher. In short, what I would say, aim for the sky, and then even if you fall down low, you will match somewhere. But if you just look at, I just need 234, I just need 240, then that's not going to be good for you. You should always aim for 250 plus, depending upon the specialties that you're opting for. This is also another snapshot of looking at it, right? When you look at it, USMLE scores versus people who matched and did not match in step 1 and step 2 basically means each and every point, meaning each and every question that you got it wrong or right, matters. You could be the best looking person in the world in your school, in your academics, but if you screw this up in your USMLE exam, it doesn't matter whether you are the gold medalist, diamond medalist, or you were the last person standing in your university. So that's why, in a way, it's a good platform because it's a level field all over again. It doesn't matter whether you are the best looking candidate or the top notch doctor in your university, or you're the last pathetic looking failure. But if you are able to score high on the USMLE, you match, the gold medalist did not match. So that's exactly what I tried to say. Because over the years, I've met doctors from all the parts of the world who told me different stories. A, they come and say, like, I'm the rocket scientist. I'm all A plus students in my medical school. Or two, they say, like, I'm just an average student. Third, they say, like, Dr. Tenzin, to be honest, I'm really below average. It does not matter because there's no discrimination of how your performances were in your medical school. If you're able to knock this out, you are the queen and you are the king for residency. Coming to the main topic today, we're going to talk about the 6 steps to strengthen your match application, presuming that you have taken all the steps. Now, what more do I need to do to beautify myself or to make me more glamorous and make me more handsome or more attractive for the application, for the program director's office? Numero uno is going to be clinical experience, right? So obviously, I said clinical experiences. Coming from Central America, you guys have a lot of experiences clinically from day one. But they are now talking about clinical experiences in terms of US. There's a reason. What are the benefits of US clinical experiences? Well, obviously, you have exposure to patients and acquiring skills regarding patient care and work in the hospital. That's the same thing with Central America. But now the difference here is the patient population is different. Over there, in your countries, you say like, ¿Cómo estás? Bien, ¿y tú? Un, dos, tres, right? But over here, can you communicate nicely? Can you communicate professionally to a patient in English? And obviously, you will get letters of recommendations from a US physician. And obviously, it'll improve your communication and interpersonal skills because I know when I meet with Latin American students, initially, there's like, hi, how can I help you? And it takes time. It's like slow motion. It's like, how can I help you? Goes into the right ear, and then English goes back to the right brain, and the right brain converts and translates to Spanish by saying, how can I help you? And then the Spanish brain says, okay, this is the answer. And then comes the answer from your mouth. It takes time. So obviously, when you do study in the United States and also have more chances of US clinical experiences, your language becomes much more fluent and your pronunciations, your social skills becomes much more better. So that's one of the benefits that you have when you do the US clinical experiences. And obviously, you'll have different interactions with different races. You have black, you have white, you have brown, you have blue, you have all the colors of the rainbow, different races, that you can talk, because each and every, kind of community, they talk a little bit differently. So you should not be shocked when you go to an interview all of a sudden, and then this different accent coming in. It's like, pero poquito, can you slow down, please? That is the last thing that you want to say during your interview period. Most important here is that if you do US clinical experiences, you will have chances to get your hands dirty on electronic recording system. And this is one of the biggest assets that you can go and tell during the interview by saying, I worked with Dr. Tenzin in XYZ hospital. And during that period, I had this opportunity to work on this, and I am also a master of electronic records. Now, what that means is that because when you start your residency, day one, there are a lot of trainings. Now, if I see Maria, who has already done USCE here, then I know that she has already been exposed to the electronic record keeping system. So it's like, okay, you know what? I don't have to spend much time teaching her that. So she's already good. Next, last two is going to be, obviously, you might have chances to work with physicians during your clinical experiences who are working on research. And then not only about rotating the day from 9 to 5, but you can also say like, hey, Dr. Tenzin, do you have any projects that you're working on research? Because I want to have my name published as well. So obviously that is kind of a networking, that is a chance for you to get your name published on a research paper also. Last but not the least is going to be the chances of networking and connections while you're doing the rotations. So obviously, you're not going to only work with me, because when you work in a hospital, you'll be exposed to a lot of other doctors during the rounds that if they like you, then obviously they'll take you. Points to remember: the terms used to describe these programs can also be interchangeably changed. Ships, literally, I jokingly say that ships, sub-internships, externships, clerkships, and then observerships. So observership is a little bit unformalized, versus sub-internship, externship, and clerkships are a little bit more formalized. And there's no formalized system for international doctors to apply for US clinical experiences. Many of my students, they choose to pay a third party online to get and find an opportunity for US clinical experiences. We at Kaplan, we work with AM Opportunities, who also helps the international doctors to kind of get US clinical experiences. So obviously, if you have any questions down the lane, not right now, don't ask me these questions. Where can I get my US clinical experiences without even taking the step one? Then after you finish the step one, CK and certified, that is the time to find these kind of clinical opportunities. Right? Obviously, remember that since you're working there, it doesn't mean that you'll get paid, because this is an unpaid experiences where you will be getting letters of recommendation. But make sure that you plan your plan, that every order of the day that you'll be ready to go the next September season of the calendar year when your application is being sent. I know that some of the institutions, they look fancy. It's like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, NYU, Columbia, Emory University. But at the end of the day, you really have to be smart. That strong letter of recommendation helps. But even more than that, try to look for opportunities where you will get more chances of accepting the international medical graduates for residency. So don't forget to ask whenever you have these kind of opportunities, when you go online during that period of time. It's like, okay, fine, I got A company, B company, C company. They write a lot of beautiful things on the webpage. They'll say a lot of things on the phone, but ask these questions. Would I work in the hospital? Would I work in the clinic? Or would it be a mixed or a hybrid case? Would I be interviewing and examining the patients, or would I be just looking at you and then following it? And would you be able to give me feedbacks, and would you be able to assist in procedures? And then what does the letter of recommendation look like? Because if it's just a template, then it doesn't make sense. Next thing, apart from clinical experiences, is research and volunteer work. Obviously, in the United States, just like in most of the Western countries, they give a little bit more weightage on volunteer and research works. So these are certain websites that you can take a snapshot and then look into opportunities down the lane when you are there, ready to go, looking for research and volunteer opportunities, because that's going to help you a long way. Número dos, USMLE Step 3. After passing the 1, 2 CK and OET for now, take the Step 3. Step 3 is not required for get into residency training, but it's going to be much more attractive for you if you have the Step 3 in your application package, because the programs are going to look much more better at you with the Step 3 done rather than somebody who is not done, right? Step 3, on the other side, is meant and designed for you to get a license to practice medicine after you finish your residencies, number one. Number two, let us say, hypothetically speaking, accidentally you did not get a high Step 1 score or Step 2 CK score. But if you have the step 3 score, it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about you. Then obviously the step 3, especially for IMGs like you and me, it is really important for you to obtain the H-1B visa. When you do the residency training, you can attain the residency training under 2 kinds of visa. One is the J1 visa, H1 visa. H1, J1, H1, J1. Now, H-1B visa is preferred, personally speaking, because if you get a J1, then after residency training, you have to go back to your country for 2 years. Even if you get married to a US citizen while you are doing a residency, it doesn't matter. Versus H-1B, you will be able to finish your residency, and after that, you can apply for a job that sponsors for a green card. And then once you have the green card, applying for US citizen is the next easy step in process. But the condition here is if you want the H-1B, I need your step 3 result. So make sure that you have the step 3, or at least try that you have the step 3 result when you send in your applications for your season. And then one thing that irrespective of visas, right? If you are taking the step 2 CK exam just about 1 month, then you're already fresh with the step 3 content, because the step 2 CK and the step 3, they're the same 5 clinical subjects, except it goes one step deeper into the post-management and preventive medicine, and then the crisis management. So it does not need a long time. It's not like studying from step 1 to step 2. It's just step 2 to step 3 is literally about, if you are strong with step 2 CK, I would say give or take 2 to 3 months maximum for your step 3. All right, número 3. Choose your programs and specialties very wisely. And this is important because a lot of people, they come and tell me, Dr. and I want to become a plastic surgeon or a surgeon or this or that. Or they might even say, like, Dr. and I want to become a neurosurgeon, but you know what, my friends and the forums told me that I might not be able to get it, so I'm going to settle down for internal medicine. So think really carefully, because it's all about what you want, right? Now, also be kind of cognizant and be kind of ready to understand that you desire something, but does it have, do you have it to get it? For example, you would say that I want to become a plastic surgeon. That's like, you're telling me that you want to marry Jennifer Lopez or Brad Pitt, depending upon the sex and gender you are. Then the question is, did you look yourself into the mirror, right? So first of all, look yourself into the mirror. Look at your scores. Look at how many times you failed. Look at your US clinical experiences, years of graduation, LORs, languages spoken. And then look at what the program wants. Right? So obviously you cannot say, I want Brad Pitt and I want Jennifer Lopez, but I'm so ugly, and that doesn't make sense, right? So you have to be logical in terms of like, I want that, but I'm not trying to discourage you right now. I'm trying to say, after you finish the steps, exams, and the scores, then you might change, but not right now. While you're preparing for USMLE, I don't want you to have this thought. I want you to say, I want to get plastic surgery. I don't have any plan B, because if you think in that mindset, then you will work even harder, because let's say you have a friend who wants internal medicine or family medicine or psychiatry or pediatrics, but you wanted plastic surgery. But you also know that plastic surgery is more tougher than the other specialties. So obviously, if they are studying 6 hours a day, you have to study 10 hours a day. If they are studying 10 hours a day, you have to study 25 hours a day if there is extra time for that. So this is the mindset that you cannot compare yourself with the other friends and peers, because they want something else, you want something else. So that's why you have to change your mindset followingly, right? Now, the top specialties for non-US IMGs here is I landed up here in terms of the top down. Now concentrate on the middle, the third column, the non-US IMGs. Now this is also tying up with one of the most favorite questions of what are my chances of getting matched into neurosurgery or radiodiagnostics or pediatric primary or emergency or gynecology? So it is not really about, the surgical fields, they are anti or they hate IMGs. And it's also not that, internal medicine and medicine programs, they love IMGs. When you look at the number of programs and number of seats available for each and every specialties, they're higher on those categories. So even after they fill up the domestic medical students spots, we still have left over that we can be distributed for IMGs. So the main point here is going to be not about like and hate and love. It's just about number of positions available. This is the US map where you will see the red dots. Now, when you see the red dots, each and every red dot density comprises of the IMGs practicing into residency and fellowship trainings in the United States. So obviously you see Florida on the top down, and on the left side, you see California, and then on the right side, you see the Northeast and Chicago area. Now, this becomes important down the lane when you send your applications, because each and every application that you send is going to cost you money. So I don't want you to spend money and waste it at those places where you have less chances, versus you might want to invest the money in those places where you have higher chances, which means top IMG-friendly states. Now, these are the top 10 or 12 states where IMGs like you and I can get higher chances of ranked into match. Now, out of these all, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey tops it all with approximately about 3,000 positions right there. So this is important when it comes down the lane, when you're sending your applications, that you might want to consider more of these programs in these states. I'm not saying don't do it on the other states, but try to be smart in terms of spending your budget. Now, knowledge is power. You need to also find out what the program wants from you, or who are they looking for. So try to look and ask them questions. Like, what is the minimum board scores for consideration in your programs? Do you take any students who has any failed attempts in the past? What is the average board scores that you're looking for? What percentage of your residents are IMGs? What is the most important criteria for admission? Do you have any limitation because I am 5 years old graduate? Do I have a chance? Or main important thing for IMGs is like, do you even sponsor the visa or not? Because don't apply to those programs which does not sponsor the visas. Because if you don't, if the program doesn't, then you're just wasting money, right? Number 4, letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendations is only strongly preferred from US physicians in a specialty. I know you need 3 letters of recommendations for any program to apply, but try to make at least 2 out of the 3 from the United States. 1 from your country. Let us say, for example, you're applying for medicine or surgery or whatever. Then get 1 strong letter of recommendation from Dr. Jose, Dr. Maria, Dr. Lopez, Dr. Ramirez, whoever was your program director, and a strong letter of recommendation, because that is exactly the time that you spend with doctor for at least about 2 or 3 years of your medical school life. And that is going to be valuable for me as a program director here. And the remaining 2 is just for me to understand that, all right, everybody is now, you're at least okay with the culture and the healthcare system in this country. So strong letter of recommendation gives a stamp of approval that I don't have to really worry about you. The strong letter of recommendation from your country, from your program, tells me a lot of details more than the US doctors. And then obviously it'll put me at ease. And then the strong letter of recommendations based upon your US clinical experiences is going to tell me, it's like, all right, at least she's not just off the boat. You know the US medical system, right? So these are the things that are needed to have strong letter of recommendations. Now, when we talk about letters of recommendations, but strong letters of recommendations, we're not only talking about, yeah, he did so-and-so from this and this time, but we need to specify specifically about what you did during that time. we best need the strongest letter of recommendation is that you worked and assisted me in procedures, right? Be it in medicine or in surgical residency, we have a lot of procedures, bronchoscopy, this copy, this scope. So let the letter writer write the procedures that you did. The more procedures you did, and it's written in the LORs, the more attractive you get. Otherwise, all the letters of recommendations are going to sound very, very bland and simple and common. Number 5, personal statements. Personal statement is not just a personal statement. We're talking about effective ERAS personal statement. Now, what does personal statement entail? It is not about CV or biodata or resume in a wording form, but it's just about show your dedication and motivation as to why you want to join surgery, why you want to join internal medicine, why you want to join pediatrics or OBGYN or any specialty that you want, and why you will be a great fit. Because remember, there was 1,000 applications, I only called 100. And this is one of the times that could be the filter that I might be using. Because each and every program director's office, they use different channels of elimination. So some program directors, straight away after the scores are done, they look at the ERAS personal statement, and then it's like, okay, fine. Out of these, I select this 100. That's it. End of the story. But do not just write it yourself, thinking that you wrote it good, because obviously most of us are not native English speakers and writers. So obviously, once you draft that, have one of the English speakers who are native proofread it and improvise on it. Because effective personal statements cannot be written overnight or over a few days. Trust me. If I see and read a personal statement, I can just smell and tell that letter of recommendation, that personal statement is written within a week or within a few days or within a few hours as well, because it does not happen that way. You need to spend time on it. During that personal statement, highlight your strengths, not your weaknesses, right? Avoid information that you don't want to discuss in an interview. For example, let's say that you graduated in 2019, but you're applying in 2022. Don't say like, oh, from 2019 to 2022, I was not. Don't, because maybe I did not catch it. But why are you trying to remind me that, oh, you should ask me about that, right? And obviously try to deviate from topics on politics, religion, or any topics that makes you feel a little bit awkward, okay? But mainly in the personal statement, you need to focus on how you're going to make my program better. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you to beg in the personal statement. And this is the biggest mistake doctors make from different parts of the world in IMGs. It's like, please give me a residency. You don't have to beg. And begging is not the one that we need to write in personal statement. Rather than that, you end your personal statement by saying, with this experiences that I have, A, B, C, D, E, F, I would like to bring forward my experiences to the program so that we can both grow and I can learn from the program. So these are the things that is meant when I said effective personal statements. Number 6, interviews. Like we talked about briefly earlier, you could be the rocket scientist and nerd, and you could have gotten the best of things on documents and paper, but at the interview, you sucked. Why? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dress appropriately. Arrive timely. Have a good body language. Be ready to expect the unexpected. And then be ready to ask logical and knowledgeable questions. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comprises an effective interview skills. Now, when I talk about dress appropriately, I just had an interview. I just had a session this afternoon during our match panelist. And then one of the person who got matched, she was just sharing an experience of a person who was in a, not really the blazer and suit. He was in a trouser, shirt, and a tie, but not a coat, and not in a suit. And then she overheard the program director asking him, it's like, why aren't you in a suit? And then obviously, end of the story, he did not match. So small things matters a lot because you never know who is going to interview and what your thought processes are. Obviously, when you did the research here with all the program directors, you can see how important at the end of the day, you worked so hard, you got the highest scores, you got everything under your belt that gave you a ticket to come for the interview skills. Now it is that time that you screw it up or you get it. So make sure that during the interviews, you spend good amount of times prior to your interview date practicing, right? Now, look at the interview period. Now, when I said it's important to know the timeline of residency, this is exactly what I meant, apart from the other timeline that I showed in terms of when the applications begin, when the interviews happen, when the MASH happens, and when the residency happens. Application period typically starts from middle of September. That's 15th of September. Now, from 15th September to end of September, approximately about 20% of the interview call letters will go out. But when you look at this in October, almost about 50% of your interviews are being sucked in the month of October. And then obviously, when you go further and further, the lesser and lesser chances of you getting calls for interviews. Now, what does that mean? The bottom line is you should get all your ducks in a row and get all the steps done, letters of recommendations, personal statements done by any calendar year of your application period before September 15th. So that makes you think about, it's like, okay, fine, I'm going to study for step 1 or I'm studying for step 2 CK. Will I get ready with all those documents so that I can press the enter button and send all my application by September? Because if you don't have the result for step 2 CK or OET or step 3 by October, then you see the chances of you getting interview calls gets diminished drastically. Now, the no interviews or less chances of interview means lesser and lesser chances of getting matched. Interview tips, obviously I'm going to speed it through because maybe most probably you guys are not in that phase right now. Be punctual, research your programs before, practice, and then familiarize yourself, be yourself. What to take with you? I'm not going to talk about this because we can have a different seminar on that. Interview etiquettes, a good eye contact, handshake, which should be firm, but again, I don't have to worry about Central America because you do shake. In certain cultures, in certain countries, I have to be wary of it because a female doesn't touch and handshake a man and the other way around. So that is totally okay right now with Central American students. Describe yourself honestly. Listen carefully. Don't cut me out before I finish the question. Be enthusiastic, but at the same time, don't be over enthusiastic. What I want to hear is that you are dedicated, you're motivated from a long time ago, rather than you just wanted to become a surgeon just before September, because you thought that you wanted to be a surgeon. All right. Before the interview, it's always good. It's okay to contact the programs, but don't call the program director. Call the program coordinator who would be able to help you with the questions that you may have. But do not ask questions that is already available on the webpage because you might sound stupid. And then sometimes it gets irritating from the program director's coordinator's team. Because if they get irritated, trust me, I've seen and we know that they might take your file off and then put it in the trash without you even knowing it and program directors knowing it. They have a lot of power. Small people that you think, but they do have a lot of power of making your life miserable. So be careful about that as well. Prepare thoroughly for your interview because the day that your interview is held, everyone is evaluating you. Right from the time that you got off your car till the time that you leave the campus, just remember that everybody is gauging you. And after your interview is over, don't forget to send you a thank you message for everyone who assisted you, right? Be it the program coordinator, be it the faculties, be it, obviously the faculty, the resident director, program director, and the chairman. All right, now why should you study with Kaplan? I'm not going to sing and dance too much about it. Not because I'm a doctor working with Kaplan, but I'm a doctor because I was you at one point of time. So we have been in the business pioneering for almost about competitive exams for almost 80 years. And with USMLE, we have been there in the business for almost about 40 years. We are the first one, and still, Kaplan is the only organization which has the a la carte service from step 1 to CS to CK, OET to step 3 to residency application services, ECFMG registrations, medical advising team, and all the supports that you need. Number 2, the faculties who works with Kaplan are the top-notch faculties who are actively working in university programs and communities program, and they are up to date with all the ECFMGs and USMLE trends of examination. That is why we pay them a good buck of money to be getting the new trends of the examinations, because at the end of the day, it's all about we trying to help you get the highest scores for you to get into residency match. Now, special promotion that our marketing agencies told me to kind of talk to you briefly about is that we are offering currently 20% off on our in-center, which includes the live lecture programs in the United States. So I know that Diana is going to be reaching out to you. So Diana Estudios Internacionales has been working as our official representative and agent in your region, and they're experts in the USMLE and the residency pathways. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to them. They would be able to answer 99% of the questions that you have, but maybe there's 1% that they may not be able to answer that comes to me. So regarding this promotion, how much is it? And when we talk about this promotion, which ends in about less than 6-7 days, if you're thinking about it, or your friends that you know that you're thinking about it, you can put down a deposit for now that you don't have to like start next month or next day. You know, you can lock this discount by putting down a deposit and then start the program maybe next year also. Right? So more details, you can ask Diana and Estudios Internationals. They will be able to help you with that. All right. With that said, I thank you very much for your time, and I wish you the very best of luck in your endeavors, in your medical schools, and also in your USMLE exams. This is my email address down there. If you feel that you might want to reach out to me specifically about a certain piece of question that you want me to personally address, then send an email to me. Then we might have, we can schedule a WhatsApp call or Google Hangout call or video call or whatever call, right? So take a snapshot of this and then we'll take it from there. That being said, I will stop here. I will thank you for your time, and then I'll take questions if there are any.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Primero voy a anunciar el ganador. La ganadora del Q-Bank, que es de Cuba, y es Yanelis Emilia Tavio Henry. Nos vamos a contactar contigo por correo, así que muchas gracias por participar.
They are mentioning the winner Q-Bank, Dr. Kensin.
Congratulations.
Then we have one question. Dice,
please.
I've heard about combined residency programs, for example, 6 years of both general and CT surgery. It's a different procedure to get to those programs. Any critical disadvantage?
Now, what is the two programs? One is what? One is the other one?
General and CT surgery.
General and?
CT surgery.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think you're getting confused with one thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's something called the dual degree programs. Dual degree programs is MD, MBAs, and MD, JDs. That's for lawyers. And MD pediatrics and MD medicine. So these are called the dual degree programs, that you have two specialties into one. And one thing that's really honest is going to be next to impossible to get into these dual degree programs. And if you want me to tell you how difficult it is, I'm not trying to discourage, but it's a fact. Dual degree programs for you as an IMG, even for the US medical students, let's say it's 1 to 2% chances for US medical students. For IMGs, it's even more tougher. I would say even 0.3 to 0.5 chances of getting into dual degree programs. Now, cardiothoracic surgery, on the other hand, is not called a dual degree program. It's just a program, all right? So for you to do the cardiothoracic surgeries or neurosurgeries, then you have to do 1 year of preliminary rotation in Gen Surge. So after you finish the 1 year of Gen Surge, then you proceed with cardiothoracic surgeries. Now, cardiothoracic surgery and plastic surgery or neurosurgeries, they have different layers. Majority of the students who land up doing that, they finish 5 years of Gen Surge first, and then they move on to cardiothoracic surgeries or neurosurgeries or plastic surgeries. A very small aspect of it, they go directly into the categorical match, which means, okay, now in terms of matching, let me give you this thing. There are two kinds of matches. One is the preliminary match, and the other one is categorical match. Now, in a very Friday, since it's a Friday weekend time, so I'm going to loosen up a little bit. So just don't hold me too tight. All right. So preliminary is a short-term deal, right? It's just going to be 1 year contract that I love you for 1 year. Now, whether I will love you and get married for 1 year after that, it remains to be seen. Maybe I will not. Maybe I will get you into the program next year, depending on a lot of factors, depending upon whether there are any positions, whether you screwed up during the 1 year, or whether you are great enough for me to help you. That's called the preliminary year. On the other side, it's the categorical side. Categorical means, let's say you applied for neurosurgery, orthopedic surgery, or cardiothoracic surgery, then you got categorical position. That means you have the whole 6-7 years of contract of marriage that you got in, and then you will get out as a cardiothoracic surgeon. So that is the two different aspects of things. So, but it's not dual degree. Dual degree is separate, and this question that you're asking is separate as well. I hope that clears your question.
Yes, that was the only one. So thank you.
That was the only one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So either I was able to clarify all the questions that they don't have any questions, or they do not understand even a single thing of what I said.
Yes, no, you gave us very, very clearly information. That's
yes, thank you.
Thank you
so
much, Francie. I just shared with you, Laura, my link for appointments. If anyone wants more information about the options of studying with Kaplan, you can contact me and we will discuss all the options and promotions with you personally.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and wish you all the best. Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.
Feliz fin de semana. Ciao.
Ciao.